Greetings, everybody. Good evening. It's lovely to be with you again this evening. And I was just looking on the screen and seeing so many familiar names and faces. It's such a pleasure. In fact, I know that we have familiar people from many years, and we also have people who are probably new and joining us for the first time today. I want to welcome you and uh, hope that this session is going to be of great benefit to you from wherever you'll be joining us, whether you are here on our continent of Africa. I've seen a few familiar faces or names from overseas in the diaspora. It's always a pleasure that you are able to join us. And indeed, we are grateful for this opportunity that Zoom provides for us to be able to get together 2 or 3 times a week in order to share our business and the knowledge of our products and to encourage each other, because as we encourage you, we also get encouraged in building our business. And so as you'll have seen from your invitation for today's Zoom, my session is going to be about immune health. And it's a topic which I'm finding that is becoming more and more important as we become more and more familiar with it. And especially because of the experience we had with the pandemic, when I think it heightened our realization that our immune system is a very important aspect of our health, because it will often be the one that stands between us and the illnesses maybe that have no cure or whose cure are as yet to be found. So for that reason, I hope that what we'll share this evening is going to be beneficial to you on your personal capacity, but also to those within your sphere of influence, because as Neolife distributors, not only are we out looking for people who are looking for our opportunity and products, but we're also looking for people who are looking for education and a better understanding of their health and how to be able to maintain a healthy lifestyle and good health for as long as possible. So without further ado, I would like to start by introducing the fact that the immune system can be compared to the Department of Immigration and the Department of Defense in a country. So it is the one that makes sure that the tissues that are in our body actually belong to our body. And if there are any foreign and friendly organisms that have entered our bodies, the immune system is also in charge of eliminating them. And so you can see that even before we had doctors and the medical systems that we have today, our body had already evolved to take care of itself and its health. Of course, we are very appreciative of what medical science has provided for us, those advances. They have helped us a great deal, and so we appreciate that. But this cannot make us unaware of the fact that our immune system is a very, very important part of our health. So the immune system is distributed in a number of places in our bodies, and I'm going to mention 4, the first of which is the white blood cells, which we might remember from our high school biology, that circulates in our circulatory system in the blood. And then we have also some of our immune cells will be found in our bone marrow and in the thymus gland. The thymus gland is found in the chest, just behind the sternum, the bone in the middle of our chest. This thymus gland, it grows smaller after puberty and continues to shrink as we age. And that is one of the reasons why when we are younger, we are more able to bounce back from infections as compared to when we become older. And then the other place where our immune system has got its presence is in our gut microbiome. And this is mainly in our large intestine. And here is where we've got a big population of microbes which coexist with us in a friendly relationship, and they too play an important role in our immune system. So as you can see, our immune system is broadly distributed in our body, and that is because it has the important work of surveillance around our bodies to keep an eye out for any harmful organisms that might enter our body and try to harm us. So then there are various mechanisms by which the immune system operates. It has a mechanism for tracking the foreign organisms that enter our body. We know that one of the ways in which we minimize the number is that we have a stomach which is highly acidic, and the high acidity of the stomach, of course, has among its functions is to kill unfriendly organisms that might enter our system through our food. But in addition to that, we have our immune system is able to find harmful microbes that are already inside our body. It can also kill them. And in addition to that, it also has a way of keeping a memory, like a record of any alien microbes that have been fought and defeated in our system. That is why, for example, in certain illnesses, once we are vaccinated, we don't get sick with that illness again because our immune system stores the information about that microbe. If you think about something like measles, or if you think about others like the polios and so on, once our body has been sensitized to them, the immune system actually has got a method of keeping a record so that if that organism enters our body again, immediately our immune system will swing into action and start putting up a big fight. And we see that we are able to resist that infection. So the white blood cell, we'll give some examples of the cells involved in our immune system. There are many, I'll mention a few. The first one, as I said, is the white blood cells that has got many ways of killing harmful microbes. And then number two, we have the memory cells, which in the immune system keep records, as I said. So the ones that keep records of the microbes we have fought before and defeated, these are the memory cells, and they are able to neutralize any variants of the microbes we have already fought and defeated. And then we have what are called the T cells. The T cells kill infected cells, and in fact, this includes cancerous cells. So our system is even able to fight against cancerous cells. Unfortunately, sometimes it loses the battle, but the T cells are important in fighting and killing the cells which are already sick so that they don't spread the sickness. So the T cells are actually made in the thymus gland that I mentioned. And then we have the gut microbiome that I spoke about. This, as I said, is a population of friendly microbes that live in the large intestine and help to make our bodies uninhabitable or unfriendly for harmful microbes. What they do is they actually produce certain proteins and byproducts which poison these harmful microbes that might be in our gut. And the other way in which these microbes, the microbes of the microbiome operates is by outcompeting the harmful ones. So if their population is high, they edge out the harmful ones, and that way help us to maintain our health. So as you can see, there are a number of ways, and these are not even all of them. But also just to mention that because of the importance of these microbes that are found in our gut, it is one of the reasons why it is not a good habit to ask the doctor to give you antibiotics if you don't actually need it. Because remember, the antibiotics are going to kill everything, the good and the bad. And if for some reason we have had to take antibiotics, then it is a good thing to try and reestablish the population of our friendly microbes again. If you have Acidophilus in your market, then that is one way of doing it. If unfortunately you do not have Acidophilus, then as I always say, you can get from your diet foods that are friendly towards cultivating the friendly microbes. That is the fermented foods from your culture, and also to have a diet of unprocessed foods, which are going to be a good meal for your gut microbes. So if we are taking unhealthy food, we starve out our gut microbes, and that means that this aspect of our immune system is going to be weakened. Another habit that I think we should be careful about is using antimicrobial soaps all the time. So I know there are these soaps that are always being advertised as being ICU and killing all the germs in your system, in your environment. Unfortunately, this can also kill those germs that are useful to us, or can make our system so poor at fighting the unfriendly microbes that we find that our immunity reduces. So for that reason, unless maybe we're cleaning the bathroom, the rest of the house, we should just use something like LDC, which is an ordinary soap, and keep the antimicrobial stuff for maybe wound cleaning or cleaning the bathroom or sensitive areas where we think we might be having a proliferation of germs, but not just as a matter of habits. Definitely not for bathing and so on, because some of the friendly microbes are actually on our skin. So that is just a point that I wanted to share. And then I'll move on and just say that a healthy immune system has mechanisms that help it to distinguish between self tissues and non-self tissues. That is, the immune tissue, our immune system is actually able to differentiate between what is part of our body, the cells that are part of our bodies, and those which are foreign. And by so doing, it then does not attack our own cells unless there's a problem, which we'll mention just now. Then the next point I wanted to mention is the problem caused by chronic inflammation. This is something we are always mentioning. And the chronic inflammation that can be caused by various things in our lifestyle or in our bodies actually overstresses the immune system. And when the immune system is overstressed, it can fail to distinguish between the self tissues and the non-self tissues, and then start attacking the self tissues. And when this happens, we call it an autoimmune reaction. That is, the body is fighting against itself, sort of like a civil war, where the army and the police turn on the people of the country and start treating them as unfriendly aliens and attacking them. So that is what an autoimmune reaction is. And if this reaction persists and becomes chronic, then it develops into what the group of illnesses that we call autoimmune illnesses. And there are a number of them, and unfortunately, they seem to be increasing. And so for that reason, we should also be even more aware of what I said before, that we should be careful to take care of our immune system so that it functions well. So there are many causes of chronic inflammation that can overstress our immune system, including unhealthy foodstuffs, chronic stress, and so on. So these are things that we can make note of and try to resolve. So how can we support a healthy immune system? Well, the first and most important, of course, is cultivating healthy lifestyle habits. So as we age, our immune system also ages and it becomes weaker. And the reason that this happens is because as we age, there may be an accumulation of harmful microbes in our systems. There can also be an increase in our toxic load. Remember, a few weeks ago, we spoke about detoxing, and we spoke extensively about it. On one session, we talked about detoxing our environment, and the next session, we talked about detoxing our own body. So if we have a high load of toxins, or we have been having minor infections that we don't fight off effectively, then we can find that this weakens our immune system. Another thing that can happen that leads to our immune system becoming weaker as we age is the shrinkage of the thymus gland. So after puberty, the thymus gland becomes smaller and smaller. And unfortunately, this can lead to our being less able to fight off new infections. Of course, we can still do so by making sure that our immune system in general is healthy, because it is natural for the thymus gland to shrink as we age, but it will have left us a good memory of the microbes that we had fought before. And that means that we'll be able to fight quite well if we support the other parts of our immune system. Then another thing that can lead to a reduction in the robustness of our immune system is a reduction in the quantity and variety of our gut microbiome. And this can happen, as I said, as a result of excessive use of antibiotics, because some people, when they go to the doctor, they only feel they're really being treated well if they're given antibiotics. And sometimes the doctor might feel like they have to give antibiotics. This is not really a good habit. It's good to ask the doctor if you actually need antibiotics, or you can actually fight off the infection by yourself, or use other medical interventions. But of course, we know that there are times when the antibiotics are necessary. It's not to say that you should not take antibiotics. It's to say that we should take them when needed and in the way that we've been instructed. Because another bad habit is to get a course of antibiotics and then we don't use it until we finish it. When we do that, then the microbes that the antibiotic was supposed to fight can become more robust and continue in our system. So we use the antibiotics when we need them and in the way that is recommended, and otherwise we don't use them because we want to make sure that our gut microbiome is large in quantity as well as in variety. And the other thing I wanted to mention about this quickly is that this is one of the reasons why it is important to visit our rural areas. I'm putting a plug in here for visiting the grannies at Ushago. Well, that is Kenyan slang for going back to your village. And this is because we can then increase, maybe when we are living in the city, we might have been missing some of our gut microbes with which we grew up. So we can revisit them and increase their numbers. And if you notice sometimes that maybe you get a runny stomach as a result of eating in the village, it does not necessarily mean that the food was unhygienic. It might just mean that your gut has become less robust and is less able to deal with things you should actually be able to deal with. Anyway, not to belabor that point, but just to put that in there. And then the other points about how to keep our immune system robust is, of course, healthy food, but also spending time in the sun whenever possible. And if this is a difficulty, then we should look at supplementing with vitamin D or vitamin A plus D, which we have in our Neolife range. And this helps, the vitamin D is a very important part of our ability to fight off illness. Then we also should safeguard our sleep and rest, and sleep especially because if you remember when we had the session last week on sleep, we did go over the fact that during deep sleep, one of the important things that happens is that our immune system is rejuvenated. So for that reason, we need to safeguard those 7 to 8 hours of sleep that we established to be important for our good health. And then another thing is the opposite of that. We should include activity in our lifestyle because, of course, as we go out for a walk, we are going to be benefiting from the fresh air outside. Someone said that there's also fresh air at home, but maybe the variety of fresh air that is outside is different from what we have. Unfortunately, sometimes in our cities, it might be just the opposite because there might be smoke and dust and all kinds of things in the air when we go outside. But nonetheless, to try and see if we can include a good amount of activity in our lifestyle. Then we should treat or resolve any chronic lifestyle illnesses. Some of them, using our Neolife interventions, we can resolve them. So, for example, high blood pressure is something that we have products for dealing with. Things like diabetes type 2, obesity, asthma, all these are lifestyle-related illnesses that we should try not just to keep on taking medication for, but also to resolve completely so that they are no longer part of our life because they do contribute to the reduction in the strength of our immune system. So let us look at some of the supplements from Neolife that we recommend for our immune system. The first one I wanted to mention is the 3NN, which, as we know, is our baseline and the important foundation for our supplementation. And this is because it works at a cellular level by ensuring that our cell membranes, so it works at the very base, the cells. So the cell membranes, with the help of 3NN, will be functioning well, and therefore absorbing what we need to absorb and eliminating the byproducts from our cellular activity. So from 3NN, we go on to the Neolife Shake, which is a full spectrum, high quality amino acids, which help to repair our tissues. In this way, if we have had maybe an infection or an illness, then by using Neolife Shake, we are going to be getting the full spectrum of amino acids that we require for tissue repair. Then, of course, the third that we have is phytodefense, which is a preparation of phytonutrients that is obtained from different types of fruits and vegetables. We have the red and yellows that are found in the red, orange, and yellow that are found in carotenoid complex. We have the dark blue and purple ones that are found in the flavonoids, and will be found in fruits like blueberries, black beans, purple beans, and so on. These ones all contain flavonoids. And then we have the cruciferous, which contains the different green leafy vegetables. So these are the members of phytodefense, and they clean up free radicals, which are byproducts of cellular activities, as well as pre-cancerous cells, and that way assists our immune system in attacking any cells that might be turning cancerous within our system. So that is phytodefense, the third product we have. Then I also want to include there vitamin C, which is involved in the functioning and repair of many tissues, especially the membranes of our respiratory system. So vitamin C, very important there also. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, vitamin D or vitamin A plus D, which apart from helping our bodies to absorb calcium from the diet, it also reduces the body's tendency to fight itself. If we have a tendency towards autoimmune problems, then vitamin D or vitamin A plus D will assist with that if we are combating autoimmune illnesses. And then next we have chelated zinc, which plays an important role in supporting the activities of the glands involved in our immune system. We already mentioned the thymus glands, but there are several other glands, and their function is boosted by chelated zinc. And we can also add their omega-3 salmon oil in order to reduce inflammation in our body. Of course, we should also try to eliminate the causes of inflammation, systemic inflammation from our lifestyle, but omega-3 salmon oil will help in that aspect also. Then I will also finally add their garlic allium complex, which acts as an antimicrobial. It is going to fight some of the harmful microbes that have gotten into our systems. And if you have in your market Acidophilus Plus, this is our supplement for boosting our gut microbiome in terms of quantity and variety. And by so doing, it helps us to have a rich gut microbiome, which, remember, we need to support by having a diet that is rich in leafy greens and other vegetables such as legumes and so on, because the fiber that we take is not for our own use, it's actually to feed this gut microbiome that plays such an important role in our bodies. Then what are some of the things that will cause harm to our immune system? The first one I wanted to mention is tobacco smoke, as well as other kinds of air pollution. This is because smoke irritates our air passages, and when our air passages are irritated, they become more susceptible to attacks by bacteria and viruses. So one more reason to give up smoking if we are smokers. or to ensure that our the air that we breathe in is as free of smoke as we can make it. Then with the next problem substance is sugar and excessively refined carbohydrates. So the chronic problems to do with sugar, such as type 2 diabetes, also weaken our immune system. So we should try to minimize refined carbohydrates as well as sugar and sugary foods and drinks, and in this way support our immune system. Then also, I think I mentioned this, let me just repeat, chronic systemic stress also is going to keep our immune system on a constant high alert. So what happens if we are chronically stressed? One of the things that makes the immune system on high alert is stress. And if we are continuously being stressed, then our immune system is continuously being on high alert. And when this happens, it starts overreacting. And when we overreact is when we start having autoimmune symptoms, as I mentioned before. Then, of course, insufficient sleep is another culprit. So we need to protect our sleep. And lastly, if we do not have sufficient exposure to sunlight, this can contribute to the problem. But as I said, we have a supplement. Although I would say that it is good to spend time in the sun, even if we are also supplementing as much as possible. Because remember, as I repeated many times, supplements do not replace the healthy lifestyle, they supplement. So we don't use vitamin D or A plus D to replace spending time in the sun. What we do recommend is, especially for those of our brothers and sisters who have darker skins, such as myself, and living in temperate climates where the sun in winter and maybe autumn is very weak, you would find that your dark skin now becomes a problem because it protects you from even that weak sun, which means you might not be able to make as much vitamin D as you need. Therefore, even if you do spend time in the sun, you would need to be supplementing with vitamin D or vitamin A plus D to make sure that you have enough of this important vitamin. Then I see I have a minute. I will mention a few points here that autoimmune illnesses, I often receive many questions to do with autoimmune illnesses, things like asthma, lupus, and so on. So this maybe I will include in the next Q&A. But just to know that when the immune system is chronically stressed, it will manifest as autoimmune illnesses of different kinds. So there usually might be an event that actually triggers the immune system to react inappropriately. The other thing is that women tend to be more susceptible to autoimmune problems than men, and people of African and Asian origins tend to also be more susceptible to autoimmune illnesses than people of Caucasian origin. So just to take that into account. So the autoimmune illnesses, unfortunately, may be just something to do with our genetics. So if your family maybe has a history of asthma or lupus or irritable bowel syndrome, all this, you may find that it might run in the family. But as we always say, the fact that it is in your gene makeup does not mean it has to happen to you. What we can do is take the measures that help our immune system to be robust and healthy so that we do not trigger off autoimmune illnesses. Because once we have them, they are very difficult to treat. So I think an easier way to go about it is to take care of our immune system so that it serves us well and does not fight against us. So I see I've finished my half hour. I want to thank you very much for your time with me. Pascal is standing by to take you through. I hope that this session was of benefit to you. And I know that we are on the cusp of month end. So I wish you all the best with this weekend that is coming when we'll be hard at work with our month end things. I hope that your goals are either already reached or within reach. And I want to encourage you to reach higher and further, because when we do our business, our success is not only for ourselves and our families, but we succeed by the good that we do to those people whose lives we touch. Thank you very much. Here is Pascal now to take you through the next session.
Thank you very much, Betty. And I also want to mention, apart from strengthening your immune system, you also need to strengthen the immune system of your business. I'm sure there are doctors here today who are attending this session. When you go to see a doctor, what they check, when they do those tests, they check your vital statistics, your vital signs. Our business also has vital signs, and they're very simple. Number one, the number of people you sponsor. Number two, how many people in your team are reading good books and listening to tapes. Number three, how many people in your team are attending events. If you take care of these things, your business will grow. Now, to get back to the session that I want to share with you today, there are two things I would like to share with you this evening. The first one is how to follow up. Because following up is very important in our business. I'm sure those of you who have been in the business for quite a while will notice that there are some prospects you speak to, and they keep telling you, okay, let me think about it, or I don't have money, or now is not the right time for me to join, or there are various reasons why prospects don't make a decision. And that is normal in our business, because the average person only joins the business after 4 to 6 exposures, sometimes even 7 exposures, before they actually say, yes, I want to do the business. So what are the key things that you need to take into account when you're doing follow-up? And what is follow-up? Follow-up simply means that you have shown the prospect the business, but they haven't made up their mind for different reasons. Your goal as a business person is to educate. It is not to convince a prospect. It's to educate a prospect by asking questions so that you know what the prospect actually wants. So your goal should be educational, either about the products or about how our industry works, okay? That is your goal as the business person or the person who wants to sponsor a new distributor in the business. The second thing you need to take into account is this. You need to act as a consultant, not a salesperson. What is the difference between those two? A consultant asks the prospect questions in order to assist the prospect to make a decision. A salesperson wants to sell something to the prospect, and people like buying. They don't like to be sold to. There's a very subtle but big difference between the two. People want to buy. That means they see the value on what you're offering. But if you want to push them to join, you're selling them something. So you need to act as a consultant, not a salesperson. How do you do that? You ask questions. You ask questions to reveal the thinking of the prospect. What are the prospect's thoughts? I'll give you a few examples, and you will find this all the time. You've shown the prospect of the business. They haven't made up their mind. They will tell you, I don't have the money to start the business. That's a very common thing that prospects say. And how do you respond to that? A very important thing, and that alludes to my item number 6, is do not argue with the prospect. When a prospect tells you they don't have money, take it at face value that they're actually telling you the truth, they don't have money. Or they say they don't have time. Or they might say they want to think about it. If you want to push the prospect away, argue with them about what they have said. Okay? So I would suggest when you ask the prospects, they've seen the business, you ask them, okay, so what did you like about the business? Did it make sense? Then they will tell you, okay, the business made a lot of sense. and actually, I'm thinking of joining. Then they start to talk, and then you ask them, okay, when do you want to start? Then they say, okay, I don't have money. A very important question to ask, okay, is that the only reason why it's still holding you back to make a decision? If they're sincere, they'll tell you, okay, the only reason is money. Or they might say, no, it's not only the money, but I'm also concerned about whatever it is they're concerned about. The reason why you ask them, is that the only reason why you haven't made a decision, is that you want to eliminate any other objection or excuse they may have. If they say money is the only reason, tell them, okay, you have a special program for people who don't have money. What we'll do is this: pay some deposit, then I'll show you how to make money when you get customers for the products. Okay? And what does that mean? It simply means that if the person says they don't have money, tell them, okay, let's sit down and let's go through what we want. Do you know of any friend of yours who has a problem with their health? Do you know anybody who has health challenges, somebody who is chronically tired? Do you know somebody who has got diabetes? All those issues, if you ask them that question, say, okay, connect me with this person, I will speak to them about our products. If they buy a product and we make a profit, you can use that money to put aside as deposit to grow, to raise money to start the business. So there's always a way to help your prospects to generate the income that they want. Okay, so ask them questions. Ask them questions about what is the real reason why they haven't made up their mind. Okay, they may say, okay, money is not the issue. They say they don't have time. If they say they don't have time, a very simple thing to ask them is, okay, I agree you don't have time. Maybe it's because we all have different priorities. But of course you realize that all of us have 24 hours. I don't have more hours. We have the same amount of hours. So the question is, what is very good way to deal with this is to ask them, what are your goals? What do you consider very important in your life? They will give you different things, my family, or I want to be free. You ask those questions so that you can help them clarify that if they're serious about their life and their future, they can create that 1 hour a day to do the business. Because in South Africa, the average person spends between 18 and 25 hours a week watching TV. I don't know about Kenya or Uganda or Tanzania or Nigeria or whichever country you're in, but the average person in those countries spends at least 20 hours a week watching TV. The question is, if they take only 7 hours of those 20 hours they watch TV to put in their business, it will make a difference in their life. Okay? Remember, the objections, there are only two things that causes people to raise objections. Only two. The other things they're saying are actually symptoms. They are not the real reason. The first is limiting belief in themselves. They don't believe that they can become successful in the business. The second reason is the limiting belief in the industry, network marketing. All right? If they've got limited beliefs about themselves becoming successful, tell them your story. When you started the business, you also had doubt. You didn't think you could do the business, but you committed yourself. And that's the difference between successful people and the ones who are not successful. The difference between commitment and interested. People who are interested, the first challenge they get, they back off. People who are committed do not give excuses. Okay? So how do you solve the limiting belief issue? By telling them your story. For example, somebody says, I don't have time to do the business. Okay, in fact, let me give you a real story that happened to us. I've met a lot of people who tell us that I don't have time to do the business. My story is always this. You know, when I started the business, I also did not have time. I had a full-time job. I was working from 8 to 5. I was doing a postgraduate course, so I would leave the office, go to the university for lectures in the evening, come back home at around 9 o'clock. We had just, our thirdborn had just been born. I think when he joined the business, he was 1 year old. So our household was very busy. I would say I didn't really have the time to do the business, but Betty and I made a commitment to do our business over the weekend. What would we do? Betty would become very, very efficient in packing the children in the car. We'd leave on Friday evening. We would travel to Lesotho or Botswana or Swaziland, spend the weekend there doing training, doing presentations, then coming back on Sunday. We did that for a very, very long time. Why was that important? Because we believed in the business. We believe first in ourselves that we could do it. Number two, we believe in the industry. That this business made complete sense to my mind because I analyzed. In fact, it took me a very long time to grasp my mind on the genius of this business. And what I figured was this. I go to there's a retail shop here in South Africa called Pick and Pay or ShopRite. I go to ShopRite. I have never gone to ShopRite and bought something and referred other people to buy anything there, and I get a discount. Number two, if I referred people to go and buy there, I would be paid. That never happened. In fact, that is what increased my belief in the business. That Neolife is willing to pay me if I successfully referred people to buy products from them. That really captured my attention. Secondly, is that all of us had exactly the same chance to earn money. That means anybody I introduced to the product of the business bought product at exactly the same amount I was buying the products. They had the chance also to introduce other users and promoters of the product. They will be paid exactly the same as what I am paid. It means leveling the playing field. So all of us had the equal chance of being rewarded for the work that we do. That to me made a lot of sense, made a lot of business sense to me. So remember that objections, two things. One is lack of limited belief in their own selves, that they may not be successful. Two, limited beliefs in the industry. You solve those by, number one, sharing your story. Number two, taking them to a meeting where they see other people for social proof. That means that if you go to a meeting and there are 100, 200 people, the thing that goes through their mind is not all these 200 people are stupid. They know exactly why they're here. Okay? And the last thing, do not argue with your prospect. You need to affirm their concerns. For example, they say they are very busy. And you said, I know you're very busy. I also used to be very busy when I started the business. But what I found that if I put only 1 hour aside during the day to do the business, you'd become successful. Okay? It's called the feel, felt, found rule. I feel, I know what you're feeling because I felt like that when I started the business. But I found that if I made the decision, I'd create the time to do the business. Okay? So it's very important to actually connect with your prospect. Don't argue about what they say is their challenge to join the business. Just address it by asking them a series of questions until they can actually see from the questions you ask why they actually can make a decision and start the business. So remember something about follow-up. What is the goal? The goal is to educate. Number 2, act as a consultant, not a salesperson. Number 3, ask questions to reveal the thinking of your prospect. Ask them a series of questions about what they don't understand. Number 4, remember, people join the business after 4 to 6 exposures before they actually join the business. So don't worry when people say 3 or 4 or 5 times they can't see, they're not interested. Number 5, there are 2 categories of objections. One is related to the limited belief in themselves. Number 2, the limited belief in the industry. And you address both by 1, telling your own story, and number 2, making sure they see a bigger picture by going to a bigger meeting. All right? And the last one, do not argue with your prospects. Address their concern, and don't tell them if they are concerned about it, address that specific issue. All right? The next thing is using the business system. For me, this is the thing that I would urge all of you to think very deeply and very carefully about. The business system. Why is this important? I think the reason why most of you join this business is to make money, but not only to make money, but to acquire time freedom. In fact, our business has got 3 things. Our business is time rich, cash rich, and choice rich. That means if you build your business correctly, you can choose whether to do the business or not. I'm not saying build a business, become a director, and then go and sleep. No. Build this business to a certain level that with or without you, the business grows. That only happens when you plug into the system that your upline leader has put in place. What is a business system? If you want to know what a business system is, go to any bank. I'm sure Absa Bank is in most African countries. From a Barclays Bank, you'll find Absa Bank. Go to any branch. You will find the way they do the business, the colors of the places, the computer system they use are the same. They teach their staff members to do business exactly the same way. Why is that? Because the owners of the bank put systems in place. They hire people to use those systems so that they can play golf on Tuesday afternoon. So a business system replaces the owner of the business. In fact, if you want to know whether you own a business or not, go away from the business for 2 months. If it collapses, you don't own the business yet. So what is our business system? The first thing is personal. You need personal enthusiasm to actually attract people in the business. Why is it important? Because people always are attracted to the people who are excited about life. Nobody wants to join a boring person. They won't join the business because, you see, you are the first proof of what the business is when you talk to your prospects. Your prospects first have to buy into you before they buy into the business. That's one. The second one is the tools. I want to recommend to all of you. In fact, I was listening. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and there are 7 things I would recommend you to think about. The first one is you need to be an educator in the business. That means your job is to educate prospects about our products and about the industry. Don't convince, educate. Educate, in fact, comes to the word educare, which means to bring out, to lead out from ignorance. That is what the true meaning of education is. To bring people out of ignorance about our products and about our business. So the next thing is our business has to be tool-based. That is, what do I mean by that? What I mean is depend on the tools of the business more than your own personal skills. Why is that important? So that any ordinary person who joins the business can become successful even if they're not very skilled in doing the business. What are those tools in our business? Videos, CDs, magazines, brochures, anything that you can send to a prospect to see or watch or listen to that does not require your direct intervention. Those are the tools. And make sure that your business growth depends more on tools than on your own skill. The third element about our business system is weekly business opportunity presentations. The more presentations you do, that means the more exposures you do for the business, the faster the business will grow. So weekly business opportunity presentations, you can do them daily if you want to. If you are as serious as a heart attack, if you really want to build this thing, you can do business opportunity presentations daily. That means you need to learn how to do it yourself. It's not difficult, okay? 4 parts. 1, tell your story. Number 2, create the need. That means give them reasons why they need to look at the business seriously. Number 3, logic. That means explain how the business works. Number 4, call to action. Those are the 4 parts of doing any presentation. The fourth thing about our system is weekly training events. For example, this training. Make sure you and all your team members plug into the weekly training so that you can learn something about the business. Number 5 is monthly recognition rallies. This is very important. I have read a lot of books about motivation. And one of the books I would recommend for all of you to buy is How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's a chapter in that book that talks about everybody's need for recognition. All of us have a very deep and sincere need to recognize for who we are and what we do. This is what the monthly recognition does. So plug into the monthly recognition. Number 6, the annual near-life convention. Make sure you start people in your team to pay for the upcoming convention. I think in South Africa, we're going to have it in October. In East Africa, I'm not sure, maybe in August or September. I'm not sure of the date. Maybe it's in October also. Start getting your people to pay for the convention now. Don't wait until 1 month before. People will have made different plans. Start selling the convention now. 7, the annual team weekend rallies. This is very important. This is done by different teams. So plug into your team convention. And then the last one is team incentives. This is what constitutes our business system. And it's very important for each distributor to plug into this system, because now the whole system helps you grow your business. You see, I have found that when you sponsor people and you start interacting with them, at some point, they actually stop listening to you. They will go to a meeting and somebody will say exactly what you've said before, but they take it seriously. Why? I don't know how to explain it. As they say, familiarity breeds contempt. It simply means that when somebody is used to you, they stop taking you seriously. Okay, so one of the important things about events is that the people in your team will listen to the same things you've been telling them, but told by somebody else, and it will sink in. That is a power event. It helps the people in your team see the business as the business should be done. And then 6 things I want to suggest that you need to think about and put into effect in your team. Number 1, make it your goal to be an educator, which means to educate people about our industry and about our products. Number 2, you need to be a tool-based business rather than personal growth. I mean, your personal skill. Tool-based simply means you use the tools as much as possible to grow your business. Number 3, duplication. Teach your people to do what you do. Number 4 is, one of the ways you can win your prospect is something called common interest or common enemy. Everybody wants to make more money. And therefore, if you're approaching people, ask them what they would like. And when they have told you what they really want out of life, show them how our business can help them fulfill what they want. That is called common interest. Common enemy. People want to pay less tax. And our business is very good at saving you the amount of tax you pay. Why? It's a home-based business. So you can actually deduct a lot of expenses from a business as business costs. For example, a portion in your room, in your house that you use for business, the phone calls you make, the traveling you do, the fuel you put in your car, the books you buy to grow your business, the events that you attend. If you go for a holiday, that's part of business expenses. Okay? So if you tell the prospect, look, I can show you how to save 25 to 30% of your tax by making sure you have deductible expenses as business expenses. That is what we call common interest, common enemy. And then the use of social media. I think that the social media has become a very powerful tool for us to grow our business. So learn how to use social media in growing your business. And then the last thing is make sure you plug in for training. The training in your group. If you keep doing that, your business will grow. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all of you very much for spending this evening with Betty and myself. The month is not over yet. Today is the 30th. We've got at least 2 or 3 more days of very hard work to achieve the goals that you wanted to achieve for the month of March. And then we always say in our business, it's not, what do you say? It's not everything, it's not the end until it's the end. So make sure that you keep pushing until you achieve what you have, what you wanted to achieve. Alan, thank you so much for hosting our meeting today. We really appreciate the work you do for us, and we're very thankful. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Pascal.